evening. I'm Pauline Verzosa.
I'm Ed Lingao. The big stories tonight. President Bongbong Marcos is signing the 2026 national budget on January 5 or a whole week after Congress ratifies it. That means we will have a briefly reenacted spending bill.
And in a few hours, the much-touted EDSA rehabilitation will begin with a timeline of 8 months and expectations of disrupted traffic around the area.
And last-minute trips and shopping are happening as we speak. We are checking in on bus terminals and food establishments as many Filipinos get ready for the traditional Noche Buena in 4 hours. And just like what some lawmakers predicted, the proposed 6.793 trillion peso budget for 2026 will be signed into law next year. In a message to the media, when asked when President Marcos will sign the national budget, Executive Secretary Ralph Recto responded simply with first week of January. Congress is set to ratify the 2026 budget by December 29 before the bill is transmitted to Malacanang for Marcos' signature. Senate President Tito Soto earlier warned of a possible reenacted budget at least for a few days or up to a week while the executive branch reviews the spending measure. Recto assured the public that this will not affect government operations. The president reportedly has formed a team to review the proposed budget before he signs it into law. Now, despite the delay, senators lauded the decision to move the signing. Senate President Pro Tempore Ping Lacson says a briefly reenacted budget would be preferable than rushing passage, only to find it unresponsive to the needs of the times or worse, prone to corruption. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, the chairman of the Finance Committee, also welcomed the move as this would also give Malacanang sufficient time to pore over each item and provision of the 4,000-page budget bill.
Now, meanwhile, Batangas 1st District Congressman Leandro Leviste has released the list of DPWH project proponents that he supposedly got from the late Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral. Leviste took to Facebook earlier today for the documents that total 19 pages. And these contain a breakdown of the DPWH budget per region, per district, and with the proponents' names. It also provides a summary of the total allocables or the allocation given to lawmakers and the respective districts. And the list falls under the 6.326 trillion peso 2025 General Appropriations Act that was prepared in 2024 during the 19th Congress. However, Leviste clarified that the lawmakers mentioned on the list are not the proponents of the projects, but are only the representatives of the districts where the projects were placed. The list was marked as of 9/4/2025, 6:03 p.m., the supposed date that Leviste received it from Cabral. And he publicly released the list despite earlier saying that he would only do so if instructed by Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon. And when asked for a reaction to Leviste's post, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro replied that the palace will only respond to the documents authenticated by DPWH. Other than these, Castro said they will all be considered as hearsay or chismis, which have no probative value.
It's almost Christmas, but some of our kapatids are still en route to their provinces for the holidays. Such is the situation over at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, or PTEX, where Mojo or mobile journalist Francis Rivera is reporting to us live. Francis, marami pa bang pasahero dyan ngayon?
Yung pagdating ng mga pasahero dito at parang humapol dito sa Noche Buena at Pasko mamaya-maya nga lang. Pero kung nakikita nyo kanina, ngayon dito sa aking likuran, halos kakaunti na lamang yung mga pasahero na dito. Pero yun nga, patuloy pa rin yung pagpunta at pagpunta ng mga kapatid nating mga pabiyahe pa. Actually, dito tayo sa Gate 4 kung saan ang biyahe nito ay papuntang Bicol. Kaya naman yung mga pabiyahe sa mga oras na to, magpapasko na sila mismo doon sa biyahe at sa daan. Bob?
Okay. Bok, so ibig mong sabihin, yung mga tao dyan ngayon no, but let's contextualize a bit. Are you saying that it's more than usual or is it like every other day?
Yes po. Actually kasi siguro kakarating lang din ng mga posts no, na may sasakyan ng mga pasahero na nandito kaya medyo kumonti na yung yung mga volume ng mga pasahero na nandito ngayon. Pero kanina, kung mga bandang tanghali hanggang hapon, talagang puno to. At marami pa nga mga nakaupo dito sa gilid. Talaga dito na sa sasayag nakaupo. Bok.
Okay, Pawi.
Oo, Francis, marami din bang nakumpiska ng mga ipinagbabawal na gamit para makapaghanda rin ang ilang mga pasahero na babiyahe pa lamang dyan?
Yes, Pauline, maraming ang mga nakumpiskang mga hindi o pinagbabawal na bagay. Gaya na nga lang ng mga matutulis sa bagay gaya ng gunting at mga lighter. At isa sa mga kapansin-pansin na talagang nakita nga natin dito ay may mga paputok na pinumpiska kanina doon sa may entrance. At ito ay hindi na nila ito ibabalik sa mga may-ari. Kaya naman paalala sa mga biyahero o sa mga pasaherong babiyahe pa sa mga oras na ito, panandali, isipin natin na yung mga pinagbabawal na pinagbabawal na gamit ay hindi na po dapat natin dalhin sa mga terminal.
At Francis, pagdating dyan sa PTEX, may mabibili pa bang mga ticket o fully booked na halos lahat ng mga biyahe dyan?
Yes, Pauline, naitala natin na fully booked ngayon yung mga December 26 hanggang December 31. May mga pasahero kasi na nag-advance booking na para daw hindi sila mahirapan na kumuha ng ticket, magkaagawan pa ng slot at lalong-lalo na doon sa schedule ng mga biyahe. Pero sa ngayon, Pauline, book ay open na open for walk-in at marami pang mga slot at maaari pang kumuha ng ticket ang ating mga kapatid na babiyahe sa mga oras na to.
Okay, so open pa for walk-in, ha? That's good news. Pero nagulat ako na may nagdadala ng paputok kasi pati nga lighter bawal. Tapos may paputok.
Yes po, kinumpiskan nila yan agad kasi sa entrance pa lang talagang binubuksan nila itong mga bagahe, itong mga bag, itong mga dala ng mga pasaherong babiyahe. At doon nga talagang nakukuha nila itong mga pinagbabawal na gamit, no? Kaya nga ng mga posporo, lighter at iba pang mga flammable materials na maaaring makaaberya sa daloy ng biyahe.
Okay, I guess that's it. Maraming salamat sa iyo, mobile journalist Francis Rivera, reporting us live from PTEX in Parañaque.
Now from Parañaque, we head on over to Quezon City. Our mobile journalist, Amy Atienza, reports to us live about the situation in Cubao bus terminals. Hi Amy, good evening. Which exact bus terminal are you at? At kamusta naman ang sitwasyon dyan ngayong gabi?
Yes, Paulina, right now we are at a particular bus company going southbound. So kung mapapansin natin sa aking likuran dito mismo sa area, hindi na ganoon karami yung tao na pumipila para nga umuwi sa kanilang mga probinsya. Yung mga trips na nandito, yun yung mga papunta ng Camarines Sur, pati Camarines Norte. And so far daw, fully booked na pero open pa rin naman daw sa mga walk-in passengers kung sakasakali nga lang na meron. Ang kaso nga lang dyan, kung walk-in ka, hindi ka na din available for dun sa mga air-conditioned na bus. So ang sitwasyon na lang ngayon, syempre may available pa rin naman silang bus. Yun nga lang, hindi ganun kalaki yung magiging privilege. Pero mas mura din naman daw yung presyo niyan kapag hindi nga daw air-conditioned. And kung kanina naikot na rin natin yung ilan sa mga bus terminal din dito, naging payapa na yung sitwasyon. Pare-parehas din yung sinasabi ng ilan sa mga pamunuan ng mga bus terminal na kung i-compare natin yung situation from yesterday and during the weekend, mas konti na nga rin daw ang tao na mga pasahero na bumabiyahe ngayong bisperas ng Pasko. Sinisigurado na rin naman nila na aabot nga daw. Though kahit hindi sa Noche Buena, dahil yung ilang mga biyahe dito ay malalayo, kung hindi man umabot sa Noche Buena, ay aabot pa naman daw ng Pasko para ma-celebrate nga nila ito with their families. Pauline?
Amy, anong mga ruta ba ang pinaka naging fully booked dyan sa bus terminal sa Cubao?
Isa sa mga pinaka-fully booked daw talaga yung papunta ng Baguio dahil bukod sa mga uuwi talaga ng probinsya, may ilan din na nagpasyano na magbakasyon na papunta nga dun sa Baguio. So yan yung isa sa mga blockbuster dun sa mga bus terminal na nakita natin. Bukod pa dyan, yung mga biyahe din na pa-north, tulad na lang ng La Union, pati na rin na Cagayan, ay fully booked na rin, pati Pangasinan. And kung southbound naman, marami-rami din yung mga pumila para umuwi sa Calabarzon, pati na rin sa Bicol region.
At Amy, since fully booked, no, halos lahat ng biyahe, may naitala rin bang mga delay sa pag-alis ng mga bus dyan?
Yes, actually meron daw slight delays na encounter no yung ilang mga bus terminal dito, pero ang sinisigurado daw kasi nila dito ay yung kaligtasan ng mga pasahero. So kaya raw nagkaka-delay dahil din kinakailangan na i-check muna yung mga bus na babiyahe. And syempre para nga din ma-monitor kung safe na ba for traveling ang mga ito, and para ma-check din kung lahat ba ng pasahero ay na nakabook dun sa particular trip ay nakasakay na dun sa bus.
And finally, Amy, ano bang mga reminders natin para sa mga biyahero? Ilang oras ba dapat yung kanilang ilaan bago yung kanilang biyahe para hindi sila maka-encounter ng aberya?
As much as possible, no, an hour before the trip, lalo na kung book na naman yung trip, ay nandito na raw dahil nga kinakailangan din i-check yung mga dala pang gamit. Kanina, Pauline, may nakita tayo dito mismo dun sa area ng mga box na mga confiscated items dito. At kabilang na nga dyan, marami yung na-confiscate na lighter, butane, pati na rin kutsilyo, which is pinagbabawal sa lahat ng bus terminal dito sa Cubao. So matinding paalala yan ng mga otoridad dito na wag nga daw magdala ng mga ipinagbabawal na gamit, katulad ng ng mga explosives, mga matutulis na bagay, pati na rin na yung mga droga. Pero so far wala naman recorded na confiscate na droga. So yun yung mga patuloy na pinaalalahanan din ng mga otoridad dito sa Cubao Bus Terminal. Pauline?
Amy, pasingit lang isa. I know of course that they ban yung mga kutsilyo. Your basic knives kasi delikado nga. I'm wondering lang kung pati ba yung mga Swiss knife o mga multi-tools na nakasabit sa bewang, kina-confiscate ba yun? Would you know?
Actually, dito sa kinatatayuan ko, very strict no yung naging protocol nila tungkol dyan, no, Bok, dahil nga kailangan nilang ma-ensure yung safety ng lahat ng biyahero. So kahit yung mga maliliit na lighter, pati yung maliliit na patalim, talagang kinukuha nila at kino-confiscate nila dahil nga ilang beses na rin naman daw na ipaalala, maging sa online platforms nila na wag nga raw magdala ng ganitong mga item.
Okay. Well, I understand the knives. I sometimes wonder lang about the lighters.
Yeah.
I also understand the problem with lighters in airplanes, but the lighters in buses. Okay. Anyway.
Well, better safe than sorry, right? But thank you very much for that update. That was mobile journalist Amy Atienza reporting to us from Cubao in Quezon City.
At this point, let's see what's happening at the NLEX or the North Luzon Expressway. We have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos there. Arles, anong bagay ka ng NLEX ngayon at kamusta ang traffic dyan?
Ed at Pauline, nako, parang lahat nga ng mga main character nating kapatid na ang probinsya ay sa norte ay tila nakauwi na, no? Dahil mula nang dumating tayo dito mga alas 8 ng umaga kanina, tuloy-tuloy naging banayad yung daloy ng trapiko dito para doon sa mga sasakyan na papasok dito sa expressway at uuwi sa mga probinsya gaya ng Zambales, Baguio at iba't iba pa, no? Mga Pampanga, ganyan, La Union, no? And so far hindi naman sila nagkaroon ng any hassle, no? Siguro, doon lang talaga sila natagalan. No? Meron kasing ilang mga sasakyan na hanggang sa ngayon wala pa ring auto sweep o kaya RFID, kaya kinakailangan pang magbayad ng cash ng ilan sa ating mga kapatid, kaya medyo naipon yung mga sasakyan. No? Pero yung iba na kinailangan pang mag-update ng kanilang mga RFID, na-assist naman ng ating mga customer service team dito at agad-agad din naman na nakalabas dito mismo sa area dito sa EDSA Balintawak ang ating mga kapatid na ito and nag-proceed na doon sa kanilang mga pupuntahan. No? At traffic update tayo, Ed, mula 7 p.m. no, yung Balintawak Toll Plaza, light traffic ang nararanasan. Ganun din sa Mindanao Toll Plaza, no, light traffic pa din. Sa San Fernando northbound ay light pa rin. Doon naman sa San Fernando southbound ay light pa rin yung traffic. Kaya naman mas magaan talaga yung labas-masok ng mga sasakyan dito, Ed. Kabukod pa dyan, ito kasi sa holiday season na ito, Ed, ay inaasahan na 370,000 na mga sasakyan ang dadaan dito sa NLEX. 5% na mas mataas yan kumpara sa average daily vehicle entries. 21,000 naman doon sa NLEX Connector at 80,000 naman sa SCTEX. Kaya naman meron din tayong mga nakita dito, Ed, na iba't ibang mga staff ng NLEX na nakahanda na umalalay sa ating mga kapatid kung magkaroon man ng mga aberya habang sila ay binabagtas itong expressway papunta nga sa mga hilagang bahaging probinsya ng ating bansa.
Nakikita ko yung likod mo, maluwag siya eh. Pwede kang tumambling-tumbling sa likod mo eh. Are you, yan bang nasa likod mo, is that northbound or southbound?
Actually, ito book ay ay northbound to, no. Yung sa kabila ay actually kaparehas din yung sitwasyon. And ito, kung makikita ninyo, may parking lots dito sa gilid. Kanina mas mahaba, no, mas madaming mga sasakyan yung nakaredy diyan dahil dito sa bahagi na ito, no, itong may color blue, yan yung customer service dito, Ed, no, na pwedeng mag-process ng RFID or magpa-load. Diyan talaga mas madami yung mga pasahero kanina, but around 5 p.m. onwards nagsimula nang magbumaklas, no, yung mga staff dito and hindi na makakapagpa-load yung mga kapatid natin na gusto pang humabol na loadan o lamnan ang kanilang mga RFID. Though magre-resume naman daw sila bukas, but they are also expecting a lesser vehicle compared to what we have today on the previous days as well.
Okay.
Arles, sabi mo nga kanina ka pa nandyan, alas 8 ng umaga. Meron bang mga naitalang untoward incidents?
So for Pauline, wala naman tayo naririnig pa, no, na mga untoward incident na nangyari dito. And actually, meron din paalala yung ating mga kapatid dito mula sa NLEX na siguraduhin na handa ang sarili kapag magmamaneho, huwag magpa-impluwensya ng any alcohol or any substance use nang sa gayon hindi nga raw magkaroon ng problema, no, at maging dire-diretso lang, no, maging hassle-free ang kanilang pag-uwi sa kanilang mga probinsya, lalo pa ngayon at ilang oras na lamang ay magpapasko na nga. Pauline.
At Arles, syempre inaabangan ng mga motorista tuwing holiday season ay yung libreng toll. So anong oras ba yan magsisimula?
Magsisimula yan, Pauline, ngayong December 24, 10 p.m. no, hanggang December 25 ng 6 a.m. Para yan sa lahat ng expressway sa ilalim ng Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation, gaya ng NLEX, yung NLEX Connector din, SCTEX, Calax at Cavitex para sa Class 1, 2, and 3 na vehicles, no? Pero ganun din sa ating paparating na New Year, December 31, 10 p.m. hanggang January 1, 6 a.m. ay i-waive nga ang toll fee sa mga expressway na nabanggit na ito. Pauline.
Okay. Maraming salamat sa iyo, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos, reporting live from NLEX Balintawak.
Now, meantime, here are some advisories from the management of expressways. The Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation will implement toll-free passage on major Luzon expressways, as mentioned, during select hours over the Christmas and New Year holidays. The free toll will apply to NLEX, SCTEX, NLEX Connector, Cavitex, and Calax from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. on December 24 to 25 and on December 31 to January 1. The company said the measure is part of traffic management efforts to ease congestion during the holiday travel peak. Meanwhile, San Miguel Corporation will also waive toll fees on all its expressways during select hours on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. The toll holiday will run from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. on December 24 and 25 and December 31 to January 1st. This covers the Skyway system, NAIA-X, SLEX, Star Tollway, and T-Plex. And the Land Transportation Office has activated a mobile command center along SLEX to support traffic management and road safety during the 2025 holiday travel rush. The center monitors real-time traffic conditions, verified vehicle registration status, and coordinated incident response with enforcers and emergency teams. It will operate 24/7 until the end of the New Year holiday period.
And the long-delayed rehabilitation work on EDSA begins tonight, Christmas Eve. The Public Works Department is advising motorists to plan their alternative routes. The makeover to major thoroughfare will run around the clock and will affect several sections of the highway from December 24 to December 27. Concrete reblocking on the northbound lanes will take place from Rojas Boulevard to Park Avenue and from Park Avenue to Taft Avenue. Both repairs will be on the inner lanes only. Concrete reblocking on the southbound lanes will cover Picel Street to Rojas Boulevard and Ramo Flyover to Picel Street, also limited to the inner lanes. Asphalt overlay works on the southbound lanes will begin on Christmas Day from EDSA Orense to Urdaneta Village. Overlay from EDSA Orense to Magallanes Interchange will commence on the following day until December 27. It will affect inner to outer lanes. The DPWH says it will release an updated schedule for repair works from 28 December to January 5, 2026 and reminded the public to plan their trips accordingly. The entire rehabilitation of EDSA is expected to last 8 months. Authorities have put in place some schemes to reduce traffic disruptions around the highway, including adding more trains and train trips for commuters and providing alternative routes to motorists.
Now we're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, Authorities make public CCTV footage of DPWH Undersecretary Cathy Cabral hours before her death. That and more stories are still ahead. Keep it here on One News.
You're watching a big story here in One News. Clips of former Public Works Undersecretary Catalina Cabral before her death have surfaced. The CCTV footage was taken from the hotel where she stayed in Baguio City, just several minutes away from Tuba Benguet, where she was found dead in a ravine. The hotel turned over the footage after receiving a subpoena from the Philippine National Police and the NBI. The PNP and the NBI are in the process of piecing together Cabral's final hours. One clip showed Cabral and her driver, Cardo Hernandez, in a hotel on the afternoon of December 18. It shows them at around 1:10 p.m., getting off the elevator and heading to Cabral's fourth-floor room. At 2:47 p.m., Cabral appears again on camera as she knocked on the driver's door and briefly went inside. They were later seen exiting the room together before heading to the elevator. A clip before 3 p.m. was the last video of Cabral and her driver. They were seen boarding a vehicle. Investigators believe Cabral and Hernandez were headed towards Cannon Road at that time. Other CCTV recordings are now with the PNP and the NBI. These were not released to the media as they now form part of the ongoing investigation. Cabral's personal phone, however, is still the subject of a warrant.
What we have to determine is whether, number one, there were threats to her life. Number two, if there were any conversations she had prior to the event. Number three, if there were still transactions pending. And number four, who was she conversing with in the week before the event?
And in other news, former President Rodrigo Duterte will spend Christmas and New Year away from his family as the International Criminal Court prohibits visitations during the holidays. Duterte is currently detained at The Hague in the Netherlands over crimes against humanity charges. Digong's youngest daughter, Veronica, also known as Kitty, confirmed the news, saying she was able to inform her father about the ICC's no visitors rule. She also shared that the former president had a Christmas message for the family.
We had, like I said, we had very touching moments today, and he didn't give a direct message, but he did include everyone in his prayers. If there's anyone who is praying for something that will do them good, please give it to them, something like that.
With just over a week to go before the 2025 ends, we take a look back at the stories that made the headlines this year. And of course, join us tonight for this conversation is, well, they call him the International Man of Mystery. I prefer to call him our resident political insider or our resident political heckler, Mr. Ronald Llamas. I'm sorry, it says the Grinch on the prompter. Ronald, thank you for joining us.
Good evening.
Good evening, Ed and Pauline.
Well,
Kayo pala naiwan sa salt mines, no?
Tayo.
And then, salt mine yan. Sa bahay siya. Ang ganda-ganda ng background niya. Well, Bok,
Ika-apat ko na ito for the day. So, parang walang Pasko.
Aba, pang-apat na niya. Anyway, Bok, to begin with, Merry Christmas and thank you for joining us. But, you know, I don't know if anybody expected 2025 to be this jam-packed with stories. And these are not just plain stories, these are earth-moving, earth-shaking stories for the country. Okay, let me run through them very quickly. You had, of course, the impeachment of Sara Duterte, the Duterte arrest, the elections, I know it's only midterm, but still the elections where the administration lost big time, the flood control projects, the almost withdrawal of support ng military as reported by Manny Mogato and of course a source from our political insider. And what happened with Catalina Cabral. Did we expect something like this year? And what are we looking at for next year?
Well, there were indications that this will be a turbulent year because of what happened last year. kung maalala nyo, last year ay sumabog yung existential battle between
The unit team.
members of the unit team, the Marcoses and the Dutertes, who were able to get the highest margin of victory in any election in our history in 2022. And yet, in the last year, nakita natin na the battle was a battle for survival, a battle for their very existence, their very mortality. Kaya nung sumabog yan, especially dun sa confidential fund ng presidente, especially dun sa mga attempts to bring down the government as early as 2024, kung saan any threat available ay binato sa sitting president ng pamilya at kaalyado ng vice president, then malinaw naman, may indications that it could get much worse. And it did. Nung nagsimula yung taon na we were confronted with the biggest budget scandal in our history, involving not only millions,
The
katulad
insertions.
sa Bacones, kung hindi billions in insertions into not only substandard projects, kung hindi mga ghost projects. At isang departamento pa lang yan. Isang departamento pa lang yan. At noong February, ay nakita natin yung first impeachment of a vice president sa ating kasaysayan. At noong March, yung first time na isang former president ay kinasuhan ng Crimes Against Humanities, ICC, at dinala siya ron with the help of our government na kaalyado nila dati. No? And then, after nyan, yung midterm
Midterms.
election, no, na for the
Nasopla.
second time in modern Philippine history, natalo yung administration. Usually kasi yung administration, pinakamalakas sila during the midterm.
Oo nga eh. Mhm.
Especially dito sa gobyerno, na nakakuha ng historic margin of victory than any president sa ating kasaysayan. So talagang sabi mo nga, Ed, ang daming nangyari. Hindi pa na natapos yung taon, nangyari pa itong panaw ni Cabral. At nangyari pa itong bakbakan sa BICAM na may threat pa nga na magkaroon ng reenacted budget. So hindi pa tapos yung taon, magbobotohan pa sa 29. Whether yung budget na inapprove ng BICAM ay matutuloy o magkakaroon tayo ng reenacted budget. So hindi matapos yung drama, hindi matapos yung controversy sa taong ito.
But I suppose the big question for a lot of people, considering what happened this year, ano kaya next year? Kasi, di ba, by February 7, tapos na yung one-year ban on the impeachment filings against the VP. Di ba? And then you also have the threat of an impeachment against the president. And of course, you have yung walang kamatayang bangga ng dalawang dating haligi ng unit team. And that's 2 years before the 2028 election. So with all that, if this year was crazy, what do we expect for next year?
Halimbawa, itong nabanggit mo, yung impeachment. Well, may mga nagpaplano ng mag-refile ng impeachment after ng one-year ban. Pero hindi ganun kadali ang impeachment ngayon dahil nga nabago yung rules because of the Supreme Court decision on the impeachment of the Vice President this year. Kaya hindi ka siya ganun kadali. Mas uphill ngayon ang impeachment because of the decision of the Supreme Court. Na hanggang ngayon, wala pa rin sagot
Wala pang desisyon, yung MR.
doon sa motion for reconsideration, no? Ikalawa ay siyempre mababa, historic low yung approval rating ng presidente. At yung impeachment na yan, katulad nung nangyari last year, ay merong direct or indirect support ng presidente. Pero dahil record high ang kanyang pagbaba ng kanyang record low ang pagbaba ng kanyang approval rating, marami ang mag-hesitate. Marami ang no? At ikatlo, palapit na ng palapit sa eleksyon. 2028, no? Practically sa 2027, simula na ng kampanya. No? Simula na. So, hindi ganoon kadali. Mas ang inaasahan ko, yung ombudsman. na meron nakasala ngayon na plunder case against the Vice President. Kahit hindi siya matanggal sa posisyon, pwede siyang makasuhan dahil hindi naman siya immune from suit. So, ang pwede mangyari yan ay mabuksan yung kanyang bank accounts at mapatunayan kung totoo ba yung sinasabi ni Senator Trillanes na yung kanyang bank accounts ay punong-puno ng hundreds of millions galing sa mga drug lords, pogo lords at iba't ibang lords. No? So, yun yung isang pwede mangyari sa pamamagitan ng ombudsman. No? At iba pa ng mga ebidensya na hindi lumabas doon sa Senado dahil nga na unsyame yung impeachment dahil sa desisyon ng Supreme Court. No? So, tingin ko mas less yung possibility ng impeachment, pero mas malaki yung possibility na yung hindi makikitang ebidensya sa impeachment ay lalabas sa pamamagitan ng ombudsman.
But Ronald, where does this leave President Bongbong Marcos and his administration? I mean, there are only 2 years left before 2028. And let's zero in on that flood control probe, because the president sort of used this as an inoculation in order to improve his trust ratings, his numbers, his approval. But was he successful in doing that? And how this whole probe and scandal has unfolded?
Well, kung titignan natin yung mga surveys, not yet. Siya pa rin yung biniblame para dito sa corruption scandal na ito. Kahit siya mismo yung naglunsad nung mahiya ka naman campaign, yung isumbong mo sa Pangulo at nagpangalan dun sa 15 biggest contractors. So hindi pa niya naihiwalay yung sarili niya dun sa charges ng corruption sa kanyang gobyerno. Lalo na, medyo na-involve yung mga malalapit sa kanya. It's the first time in my 40 years in politics na nakakita ako na yung Senate President at yung Speaker of the House ay halos sabay natanggal. No? Yung kasunod nila, yung pinakamalapit sa Presidente, yung Executive Secretary at yung Budget Secretary ay natanggal dahil daw na-link sa corruption. No? So, tingin ko, next year it will get worse before it gets better. No? Of course, sinusubukang ayusin nung kanyang mga communication team yung kanyang narrative at yung kanyang messaging. Na nitong nakaraang 3 taon, left much to be desired. Ito rin yung first time na nakakita ako na yung isang gobyerno nagpalit ng communications head 5 times in 3 years. So ibig sabihin, talaga may problema sila sa communication. Isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit bumabagsak yung kanyang approval ratings.
Pero Ronald, tingin mo ba nakakatulong itong mga vlog ni President Bongbong Marcos where he has pronouncements na ako ang nagsimula nito, ako rin ang magtatapos nito? Parang ang criticism din ng iba, mala reporter na rin ito si Presidente announcing the arrest warrants of all these people involved sa flood control scandal.
Tingin ko in the scheme of things, mas makakatulong yan kaysa sa tahimik siya. Mas makakatulong yan kaysa yung kanyang mga spokesperson na mahihina in the past ang magsasalita. No? Kaya ngayon, isa kasing balat sa kanya ay weak leader, indecisive, no? At saka tentative. At least dun sa kanyang mga ginagawa ngayon, pinapakita niya na hindi. Whether makaka-apekto yan sa kanyang sagging approval ratings, I'm not too sure. Ang mas makakatulong sa kanya ay kung mayroong makukulong na mga big fish. Kung mayroong makukulong na mga kongresista, senador, cabinet secretary, then tingin ko yun makakatulong sa kanya. Pero yung pinakamalaking millstone sa kanyang leeg ay hindi lang itong corruption issues, the economy. Sabi nga ni Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. So itong parating na taon, mukhang hindi maganda yung prospects para sa ating ekonomiya. Mismo yung growth targets natin ang sinasabi ng mga ekonomista, baka bumaba pa sa 3.8. Way below yung kanilang sariling targets. At kung ganyan kababa, ay lalo na naglalabasan na yung mga investor. Habang walang bago na pumapasok, maraming tatamaan dyan. Standard of living, yung value ng peso, no, yung ating credit stature, no, etc. So, kailangan talaga nila ng decisive moves para ma-mitigate yung unraveling ng ating economy. Lalo na, early next year, ubos na yung pera ng mga tao, 13th month, 14th month pay. Kayo ba may 14th month yan? No?
Sasagutin ba natin yun?
Sama na loob ng
Secret.
mga tao. Sama na loob. Tataas ang presyo ng bilihin, hindi naman tataas yung halaga ng kanilang piso, pababa pa nga. No? Tapos yung growth rates natin ay pababa. So, yun yung tingin kong elephant in the room next year. Sa gitna nitong corruption scandals at iba pang mga existential issues laban sa gobyerno, ay itong economy ang pinakamalaki.
Well, Ronald, balikan ko lang ng konti. Let me back up a bit dun sa the political issues, in particular yung impeachment. I was looking at ano yung basis for everybody's belief na the president down the line, the impeachable officials, are immune from suit. It turns out it is not in any statute. It is only by jurisprudence. The last statute that had any mention of immunity from suit was in the 1973 Constitution, which of course was replaced by 87, which no longer carried the same provision that the president down the line are immune from suit. In other words, what I'm saying is this, when it comes to that, yung plunder case versus VP Sara, then masusubukan kung ano ang magiging interpretasyon ng Supreme Court kung ang Vice Presidente ay maaari bang sampahan ng kasong kriminal at maaari bang pagulungin yung kasong yan at hanggang saan. So that will be interesting for next year.
Yes. Ang sinasabi ko lang naman, as far as the ombudsman is concerned, mukhang yung una kong sinabi ang kanyang ginagamit na hindi immune ang presidente from suit. The very fact na tinanggap niya yung plunder case. At tingin ko, soon, ay gagamitin niya ito para buksan yung mga bank accounts ng Vice President. Ngayon, kung ito ay mahabol sa Supreme Court, tingin ko it might take some time. No? Halimbawa, yung impeachment, nakailang buwan yun? 4 na buwan?
Okay, mahaba na
Supreme Court. So marami na yung pwedeng mangyari in 1-2 months. No? Kung magpo-prosper itong plunder case. Habang meron siguro magpa-file sa Supreme Court to test kung siya ay immune ba talaga from suit o hindi.
Well, the other thing is this napangakuan ng taong bayan na may makukulong na big fish. Pagkakasaya pa nga, if I remember correctly, congressman ng senador, di ba? Legislator dapat makukulong bago magpasko. Pero
Meron pa naman 3 oras.
tingin mo may habol pa. Ikaw naman.
Sabi ko patient
Anong time zone ka ba? Pero di ba, that was a promise and I suppose that people were latched onto that promise. Well, of course, people are also very, very forgiving. You might call them resilient. Pero, how far up the line do you think people expect the accountability to get?
Tingin ko, baka, sabi mo nga, baka magpasensya pa o magpatawag pa yung mga tao dahil Pasko. Pero tingin ko early next year, baka mahirapan na sila magpatawad. No? Yung impatience nila ay makikita natin sa next February EDSA celebration. Kung wala pa rin na nangyayari dito sa mga makakasuhan at makukulong, halimbawa, sabi ni John B. Cremulya kanina, baka by June lahat yan ay makasuhan na. Oops!
By June? By June? That's half a year from now.
Baka walang ganun pasensya yung mga tao. No? Kahit pagpalagay na lahat makakasuhan by June, kailangan may makulong na sa January. Kailangan may makulong na sa February ng mga big fish. No? Or else, tingin ko, pagdating ng EDSA celebration, it will be a massive protest dito sa usapin ng corruption at babalingan ng mga protesters again yung gobyerno.
Well, speaking of the sentiments of the people, Ronald, there was that survey by WR Numero which indicated that 46% of Filipinos are supportive, pero meron yung undecided, and it's a significant number at 24%. What do you think is fueling that number, that part of the population? And ano na ba ang sentiment talaga ng mga tao? Because it's been months already since this flood control probe started. Marami nang nangyari, although wala pa ring nakukulong. And yet we are about to start a new year also. So how would you gauge the sentiment right now of the people?
Well, siguro yung undecided ay tinitignan pa nila kung madi-deliver ng gobyerno yung kanilang promisa. Dahil nangyari naman yung WR numero survey a month ago, more than a month ago. So, siguro binibigyan pa nila ng benefit of the doubt nung nangyari yung survey na yan. Kung meron nga ba talaga makakasuhan. No? Kaya undecided pa sila. Pero going into next year, ay yung undecided na yan, baka hindi na undecided. No? Either way.
Bok, pahabol na ako before we let you go. I'm not sure exactly how to word this question, pero let me try it anyway. This year, we had all the indications of intense rumbling within the military and all this talk about what could have happened, which would include yung withdrawal of support, transition council, civil-military junta, and so on down the line. All these were distinct possibilities because of the growing displeasure and disenchantment with the corruption problem in the Philippines. What are we looking at as far as that is concerned in 2026?
Tingin ko this year ay naging safe yung gobyerno. No? Sabi nga ni Marcoleta kay Jinggoy. Dahil medyo nagbago yung tono ng Iglesia ni Cristo, who has the capacity to mobilize huge number of people against the government. Nagbago yung tono nila. Ikalawa, the Catholic Church remained firm na hindi sila sasang-ayon sa any extra-constitutional attempt to create a military junta or a revolutionary government. Habang ini-scale up nila yung kanilang criticism sa gobyerno tungkol sa massive corruption. Ikatlo, nag-toe ng line o nag-hold ng line yung military na hindi sila magiging partisan at they will stick to the constitutional parameters dito sa mga nangyayari. No? So yun yung kanilang posisyon. At ikaapat, yung nabanggit natin kanina, na perhaps a significant section of the population, binibigyan ng leeway yung gobyerno din, no? Para ipakita na seryoso sila dito sa pagsampa ng kaso, pagpapakulong, at pagbawi ng kayamanan na ninakaw. Next year, pwede magbago yan. No? Dahil the crisis remains. The threat against the government, destabilization, etc., nawala for a while. Pero the crisis, the political and economic crisis, remain. And it will get possibly worse next year kung walang gagawin ng gobyerno sa usapin ng ekonomiya at sa usapin ng anti-corruption. Kaya it can change overnight. Alam mo naman sa Pilipinas, with very weak institutions, things like this can unravel very fast.
Okay, talking to you is always very unsettling. Okay, maraming Christmas Eve.
Pinag-uusapan niyo, masyadong seryoso. Kumaya kayo sa safe house, ang pinag-uusapan lang, pagkain.
Noche buena ng pagkain, di ba? Okay, maraming salamat. Raul Llamas, our resident political insider. Thank you for joining us.
We are going to be pausing for another breather, but after that, in less than 4 hours, a traditional Noche Buena is celebrated. Let's see last-minute shoppers of Christmas ham and lechon. This is the big story on One News. Stay tuned. Back and thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story. Now, with just hours left before Noche Buena, Quiapo in Manila is packed with shoppers hunting for ham. And we now go live to our mobile journalist, Marymon Reyes. Marymon, naku, nagkakaubusan na ba ng hamon dyan sa Quiapo?
Oo, Pauline, good evening. Tama yan. Sarado na kanina yung excelente cooked ham around 5 o'clock p.m. kasi lahat ng mga tray ng display nila ng hamon doon, ubos na. Ang natira na lang yung ilang mga piraso ng bone-in na hamon and yung ilang mga kilo-kilo, yung mga buo-buo. Kaya ako, nakakuha pa naman ako ng 1/4 ng pineapple ham nila. And ngayon, ang inaantabayanan natin, ongoing sa likuran natin, yung panunuluyan na dito sa Quiapo Church. And kani-kanina lang lumapit sa atin itong bulilit na to, na si Jeneline de la Peña. And the spirit of Christmas, mas nararamdaman talaga natin sa sobrang innocent at genuine na pagmamahal ng mga bata. Kasi niregaluhan tayo ni Jenaline itong bulaklak. Paano natin ito pa ilawin? Ayan, binigyan niya ako nito, tsaka nitong rosary na bracelet. So, Jenaline, ngayon, may opportunity ka na. Sino bang kasama mo dito ngayon? Taga-saan ka ba?
Taga Pasay po, saka po kasama ko sila.
Sino gusto mong batiin ng Merry Christmas?
Si lahat po.
Ano ba ang wish mo para sa Pasko
Mahaba pa yung buhay ng lola ko.
ng lola mo? So, eto yung mga bata rin dito, bukod sa, syempre, dapat talaga ine-enjoy ang Pasko, lalong-lalo ng mga kabataan. Pero yung mga tulad nila, Jenny, nandito, nagbebenta. Pakita mo yung mga binibenta mo nitong mga rosary bracelets. Eto pa yung ilang mga bata dito. And para din sa karamihan talaga, sobrang wala, kanina pa ako naiiyak talaga nung binigay sa akin to ni Jeneline. Baka may gusto kayo patanong sa kanya.
Teka, bakit ka binigyan ng ganyan? Nagbebenta siya ng abubot, tapos binigyan ka ng ganyan. Parang napaka mapang-aping uri mo naman.
Oo nga eh. Kasi kanina nung nagla-live report tayo, nanonood itong mga bata. So nakikipagkwentuhan sila sa akin. And ano nga ba yung gusto mong yung pangarap mo na
Engineer
maging
po.
engineer. So nagkakakwentuhan kami. Nagulat ako. Binigyan niya ako nitong bracelet. Tapos binigyan niya pa ako nitong bulaklak. Kaya wala, masarap talaga magpasko kapag alam mong sobrang busilak ng puso ng mga makakasama mo.
Mary Mon, yung bulaklak ba na yan, pati yung mga rosary na binibenta niya, sarili ba niyang gawa yung mga yan?
Pwede pa rin. Ano to, mga supply na kinukuha nila. Yung iba kasi dito, for example, sila taga Pasay, yung iba taga dito sa paligid ng Quiapo. So may mga pinagkukuhanan sila para ibenta nila. Yung sa iyo ba, itong mga binibenta mo, saan galing?
Saan po binibili?
Bili. So, ngayon bang marami ka bang nabenta o matumal?
Matumal lang po. Kasi po sakto lang eh.
Sakto lang. Yun po. Kaya dapat ngayon, anytime, dapat magsiuwian na sila kasi nga magsasalubong na ng Pasko pero andito pa rin sila buke.
Oh. Grabe ka, Mermon. Binibili pa niya yan, tapos matumal ang benta, tapos nakascore ka pa ng libre sa kanya. Bigyan mo mga konting
Bilhin mo na lahat, Mary Mon.
Pakiwan mo na. Grabe ka.
Actually, Bok, itong 1/4 na ham na nakuha natin, ibigay na para meron kayong
Ayun,
pangsalo-salo
ang
ng
bait
lola
naman ni
mo
Mary
kasi
Mon.
sa Pasay pa sila uuwi. So yung nakuha natin from Excelente, bigay na natin para okay na, meron kayong pandagdag.
Opo.
Ayan,
Thank
galing
you
din
po.
yan sa kanila. Pasalamat ka.
Thank you po, Ate Colleen, at saka po sa iba pong member ng TV5.
Nagagandahan siya sa'yo, Paulina.
Maraming salamat din sa inyo at Merry Christmas. That was mobile journalist Mary Mon Reyes reporting live from Quiapo.
In La Loma, Quezon City, demand for lechon picks up ahead of Noche Buena. Let's check the situation with Mobile Journal Evan Tarinque live on the ground. Evan, kamusta ang ating mga lechon dyan?
Simula kayo ng umaga, yun na. At yun nga yung naamoy ko dito sa La Loma. Pero sa mga oras na ito, makikita nyo sa aking likuran, medyo halos wala nang bumipilig ng lechon ngayon dahil karamihan na nagpick yan bandang alas 6 at alas 7 ngayong gabi. No? Kung saan nga yung iba ang ginagawa, bumibili, tumatawag na lang at ipapadeliver na lang doon sa kanilang mga bahay or kung sa man yung location na kanilang pagtatausan ng Noche Buena. Kanina nag-ikot-ikot tayo dito, no? Tinanong natin kung magkano nga ba ang presyo ng lechon ngayon, no? Sa ating pag-ikot kanina, yung ibang lechon, yung nasa 6 to 7 kilos, nasa 11,500, mapalo ng 13,000, depende yan doon sa mga lechonan na ating napuntahan. Pero so far, dahil daw, tinanong natin kung bakit naman biglang tumaas yung presyo, according to sa mga nagtitinda, tumaas daw yung presyo dahil nga doon sa nangyaring pagtanggal ng katayan dito sa loob ng La Loma. Kasi currently, no, yung mga baboy na ililitsyon dito galing pa doon sa isang slaughterhouse. So nagdagdag sila ng costing dahil doon, kaya naman tumaas din yung presyo ng mga lechon ngayon. Pero aside from that, sinusigurado naman nung mga nagtitinda ng lechon dito na meron silang enough supply para nga doon sa mga hahabol pa na mga bibili ng lechon ngayong gabi. And so far nga, ngayon, kung iikot ko kayo ng konti, saglitan lang, makikita natin na yung ilang mga tindahan dito, may mga lechon pa rin naka-display. Pero yung ilang dyan, may mga pangalan na ibig sabihin, nabili na yung lechon na yan at i-deliver na lang maya-maya. Bok.
Okay, maraming salamat. Ivan, mukhang nagmamantika ng lente mo dahil siguro namamapakan ng lechon. Sige, pero maraming salamat sa iyo. Mag-uwi ka ng isang stick ng lechon para sa amin. Isang stick, di ba? Thank you, Ivan.
All right, and finally, we're just several hours away from Christmas and, of course, the much-awaited annual Metro Manila Film Festival. And there are 8 entries to the MMFF this year. These are Bar Boys After School, Call Me Another, I'm Perfect, Love You So Bad, Reconnect, Shake, Rattle, and Roll, Evil Origins, Unmarry, and, of course, the Signal and MQuest Ventures entry, Manila's Finest. The movie has a star-studded cast led by ultimate heartthrobs Piolo Pascual and Enrique Hill. Here's a sneak peek at the film directed by Raymond Red.
Nagang peak siya.
Napanood niyo, Bok, di ba? You got us.
Yeah. It reminded me so much of covering the Western Police District nung panahon ng 1980s.
Ayun. So,
Panggabi ako dati.
Ayun. Maabangan natin niya lang yan. Manila's Finest already airing tomorrow.
Yung mga panahon na mga typewriter pa yung nasa mga desk ng mga police.
Okay naman yung movie. How was was it?
The movie was good. Yun lang, parang I don't recall the policemen then being so fit and good looking.
Wala bang malang Piolo Pascual at Enrique
Parang
Hill noon? Ayan, but we do invite all our viewers, of course, to catch Manila's Finest already airing tomorrow in cinemas nationwide. Yan po ang entry ng Signal at MQuest Ventures for the Metro Manila Film Festival. But for tonight, here on The Big Story, that's it for us. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas. We will be back here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m.
Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all time. Maligayang Pasko po.